Hi, everyone. This is your Chapter 4 narrative story. Well, it's the only story you have in Chapter 4. And I want to point out some things to you. First of all, I have two videos here for you, Latin translation and Latin word order. And you see a space here for the Chapter 4 translation video. By the time you look at that, that's this video that I'm making now. There might be more than one of them. But we're getting to a point where we really need help translating. And I want you to remember a few things about translating. First of all, translating Latin is a skill. You're not good at physics right away. You weren't good at riding a bike the first time. It's a skill you have to learn. So it takes a lot to be correct. Think about math, for example. If you're learning a formula in math and then you learn problems or you do problems that apply to that formula, you have to use the formula and you have to go through each step in order to solve the equation. Latin's a lot like math. In fact, it uses the exact same part of your brain. So I'm going to show you the basic steps of translation here. Most of the sentences you have are fairly simple so far, but they're going to get more complicated. But if you know the basic steps, you can apply them. Just think about like in math, when you started learning simple equations and then they got more complicated, you still knew the steps to apply to solve the translation. Sorry, the formula. No, the problem. I don't know what I'm saying. The point is, if you use the steps I'm showing you, you will be much more likely to get your sentence correct. It may not always be perfect, but chances are it'll be much more correct than if you do whatever you've been doing. So we're going to start with this. This is your Chapter 4 story. It has to do with father's friends coming over for dinner and talking to the family about what father did in the war. So we're going to just pick a couple of sentences and I'm going to cut and paste them, or I'm going to copy them to another document and show you how to translate. So let's start off very easy here. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start off with the simplest possible Latin sentence, which is something like this. A verb is a complete sentence. You know from the ending, the T, that it's third person singular. So you know that translates as he, she, or it. So he, and it's ba, so it's imperfect, was loving. In English, that's a complete sentence. It's also a complete sentence in Latin. We can make it more complicated, of course. We can put in a subject and keep our verb. Lucius amabat. Now we have a he already, so we don't have to say he. So we would say Lucius was loving. And then we can get even more complicated. We could add an adjective to Lucius. So Lucius Laetus amabat. Lucius, or actually we describe him first. Happy Lucius was loving. And then we could say something he was loving. We would add a direct object. In Latin, the direct object comes after the subject. Whoops. I did not mean to do that. Let me see if I can go back. There we go. So in this case, let me go ahead and save this so I can't delete it again. Let's see, we'll just save it to the desktop. And there we go. All right. So Lucius Laetus. And then we put in a direct object. Amabat. So the sentence hasn't changed at all, except we added in another word. In this case, we would look at the am on puella and see that it's accusative. The accusative case is for direct objects. So it would be happy Lucius was loving a girl. We could add even more to the sentence. How about Lucius Vitus Puellam in Ludo Amabat. Now, did we add? Well, the sentence is exactly the same, except we added in Ludo, which is a prepositional phrase. So we would say, Happy Lucius was loving a girl in school. I know you don't know the word school yet, but it doesn't matter because I'm telling you here what it is. Furthermore, well, not furthermore, but basically, sentences are made up of pieces, and you have to figure out where the pieces go. And the pieces tell you what they're doing in the sentence so that you can put it in a correct English sentence. All of you speak English. So once you figure that out, like this is the subject, this is the direct object, this is my verb, you should be able to handle this. Now, let's look at a sentence from your story. There's a good sentence from your story that I just copied and pasted. Let's make it bigger. And all right, so here are the steps to translate in a Latin sentence. I'm going to number them for you so you can figure this out. You will always need your noun chart. Let me see if I can find it. There's your noun chart. So you're always going to need your noun chart so that you can identify your noun endings. But let's go back to what we were doing, and we'll come back to the noun chart in a minute. So the first thing you do is look at the first word. Okay, so the first word in this case is omnes. Ask yourself, can this word be nominative? If yes, it's your subject. So let's look at the ending on omnes. It's an es. Now we go back to our noun chart and we look at our noun chart and we see, let's look at nominatives because that's what we're looking for. We just said, oh, can it be nominative? Well, not here. Let's look at the plural. Boom. It totally can be nominative. So omnes is going to be the first word in your English sentence, whatever it is. So if you know what omnes means, and if you don't, you can look it up in your vocab, it means all. So all is going to be the first word in your English sentence because the subject comes first in English sentences. Now look at your second word, ancilli. Okay, omnes is what kind of word? Is it a noun? Is it a verb? Is it an adjective? It's an adjective. What do adjectives do? They modify nouns. So chances are, if you have a nominative adjective, you're going to have a nominative noun right beside it. But let's check and make sure. Can AE be a nominative ending? And it'll have to be plural because we already saw that the adjective was plural. So let's look back. Here it is right here. So it can be a nominative ending. So that's your nominative noun that goes with your adjective. So it's all the what? Slave girls. That's the subject of your sentence. Step 2, look for your verb. In Latin, the verb is always at the end of the sentence. So in this case, it's contendent. If you didn't know it was at the end of the sentence, you can still tell because it ends in nt. And all the verbs end in most, must, isn't. So in this case, it's contendent. I don't know what contendent means. Do you know what contendent means? Maybe we'll have to check for that in our vocab. So go to your vocab, and we can just go to the story, and let's see if it's in the story vocab. Here it is. Contendo, contendere means to hurry. So we're going to go back here, and now we're going to look at what tense it is. So figure out what tense it is. Translate it next. So we have all the slave girls. And what tense is contendent? It does not have a ba, so it must be present. Are hurrying. Or you could say hurry. I'll pick this up in the next video in just a second.